Hello and welcome to Disastrous History. Today we're going to do a deep dive on an Osaka building fire that killed two firefighters back on August 18th, 2025. Now, this photo right here you're looking at is the building fire post extinguishment by the fire department. So, our area of origin is actually down here, right here, down here near the bottom. It was on the exterior of the building. It was a a window air conditioner unit that caught on fire and ignited the exterior of this building right here. You see this building right here. This was the building of origin. The area of origin's down here at the bottom on the exterior of the building. Now, the firefighters themselves died up here on the 6th floor of the building next door. So, how did we get from a fire that is down here to going up the side of the building, across to the adjacent building, and killing two firefighters on this floor right here? So, if you look at this fire spread right here, now, we obviously have our area of origin right here, right? And you can see on the exterior of the building, there is a line of demarcation of damage right here. And then there's one that goes up and across like so, right? You can clearly see where the actual fire damage is here. You can see this, hold on. You can see right here, you've got significantly more fire damage. You can see how that's white. That's because, so here you have soot that has deposited on the exterior of the building. So this is fire damaged, but it's not as fire damaged as this right here. This white is called clean burn. So essentially what happens in a fire is, as it is consuming fuel, right? As a fire is burning fuel, it is turning whatever that is into flammable gases, because things themselves don't burn. The heat breaks down the item into a flammable gas, and that flammable gas is actually what is burning. The problem is that process is not efficient. When you look at something like a water heater or a furnace where you have natural gas or propane coming out and you have your flame and it basically produces no smoke, that's because there is the proper amount of gas and the proper amount of oxygen in the area to burn efficiently so that it is not creating smoke, it's not creating soot, because that will cause problems in your water heater or your furnace or things like that. So we have designed it so that the proper amount of gas is coming out of that burner, the proper amount of oxygen is being fed so it doesn't produce soot. With a fire such as a building fire like this one, you don't have that. You will have an inefficiency of either amount of fuel available or amount of oxygen available. It's most likely, because this is an exterior fire, it's most likely going to be the amount of fuel available. So it will burn inefficiently, and it will start to break down that material into very small particles that are unburned, which will then deposit on the surface of things. In this case, it's the exterior of the building. But as your fire starts to progress up this direction, right, this deposition on the exterior of the building is just unburned fuel or partially burned fuel. So as this fire spreads, it will continue to break down this soot that has deposited on the building and burn it off, leaving this white color on the exterior of the building called clean burn. It's basically burned all of the soot off and only left material that cannot burn. So we have significantly more fire damage right here as it goes up. You can see over here, it's heavily fire damaged, not as heavily fire damaged as up here. You can see there's more discoloration of this metal material. There's more clean burn here. There's a little bit of clean burn here. But one of the things you notice is that this right here, this area down here, is basically unburned. It's a little charred, it's a little heat damaged, but it's essentially unburned. So now, why do we have this fire spreading up this direction and across without burning this, right? Well, part of that is going to be wind. So your wind's blowing, let me change colors here. Your wind is blowing this direction, right? That's very obvious with how this looks up here. This is unburned. This is burned here. Obviously, the wind is blowing this direction down this. This is a right along a river. So this is obviously blowing this direction. It's pushing it into this building here. But we don't have an explanation from this photo as to why we have fire spread up the exterior of the building such as this. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide this photo real quick, and we're going to erase my scribbles. We're going to open what it looked like before. Now, can I go across the street here? I can go across the street here. So this is the exterior of that same building. So this is the exterior of the building. Your fire, which I don't know if we can get a good look at the exterior because there's people in the way, unfortunately. Unblur. There we go. Can't really tell. So your fire's starting somewhere right in here. We can't really see it because there's people standing in the way, but your fire is starting somewhere in this general vicinity. Now, when we look at the exterior of this building, let's go back over here real quick. We're going to look up at this building. The first thing you notice is the entire front portion of this building is covered with billboards. There's a billboard here. There's a billboard here. There's a billboard right here. And there's a billboard right here. All of these billboards are very obviously made of flammable material. But that's not really the concern here. It is because making exterior decorations out of flammable material is a problem, but there is a bigger problem with this exterior flammable material. Erase this here. Let's shift down a touch. All right. So you have your fire burning down here, right? Starts down here. Fire burns up. Let me use orange as well so we can get a little contrast against their red umbrellas. Okay. So your fire's burning here. If we zoom in on this right here, you'll notice, let me use yellow here and erase my flames real quick. Whoops. No. Go away. There we go. Use yellow here. You'll notice right here. You see that? That is a bracket that is mounting this billboard to the wall. The problem is this bracket is offsetting this billboard, this very flammable billboard, from the wall. So, if we zoom back out here, your fire is here. It's burning up. What it's going to do, because of this billboard up here and this billboard down here, is as this fire burns, it's going to go up behind this billboard. Now, if you've watched me at all, you'll know that at the base of a fire is a low pressure area, right? That is an L. It's a terrible L, but it's an L. Because heat is rising from that fire, and it is creating a low pressure at the base of that fire. As air is pulled in, it's heated, it's pushed upward by that heat because heat naturally rises. So you have an area of high pressure on the exterior of this, and all of your air is going to flow in to this direction, right? To replace where that hot air just exited from. But when you get back behind these billboards, the problem becomes, let me erase my drawing here real quick. The problem becomes your fire is back here, burning up and behind it. Your low pressure area is also going to be behind this billboard in here, right? But because you have this billboard, use green, you have this billboard right here blocking airflow into this low pressure area, your area of movement of air is going to be below it, and it's going to flow up in behind this billboard, which is going to push your heat up even farther, which is going to preheat the rest of this billboard, because you're not going to have much heat loss into this concrete building behind it. You're going to have heat reflected off this concrete into the billboard behind it, which is going to preheat it and start it to break down to produce flammable gases, causing it to ignite further up. If we zoom out here a little bit, we erase my drawings here. We have the same problem here, right? You can see right here, your bracket is offset from the building. So you have all of this area for the fire to go up behind it. You get your low pressure back behind the billboard. You get your high pressure. Can't go in through the front because it's blocked. So it's going to flow up from the bottom, and it's going to cause it to preheat this billboard all the way up. If you look at the same thing over here, now it's not nearly as pronounced, but you can kind of see right in this area right here where it's a little bit offset. So as soon as this fails and burns away, it's going to spread up back behind it. This isn't going to burn because it's flat against the wall. There's not as much surface area for it to actually ignite. It'll burn eventually, but you've got a significant amount of surface area to get behind here, burn across, and start burning up. This is going to burn and allow fire to get inside of this building right here. Now, because of that rapid fire spread outside the exterior of the building, firefighters had gone into this building right here, this other building that burned, to see if anyone was inside. And when they did so, they made it up to the 6th floor, because there's 7 stories right here. They'd made it up to the 6th floor right here when the fire from the exterior fire spread over this direction impinged on the interior of this building and caused the floor below them to collapse, trapping them on the 6th floor, where they were stuck until they ran out of oxygen in their oxygen tanks and essentially died of smoke inhalation. Now, there was a 3rd firefighter who was injured in this disaster that was also on the 6th floor that managed to make it down the stairs and out. But the 2 firefighters, a rookie and a 55-year-old veteran, were trapped on the 6th floor and suffocated there, specifically because there was no exterior analysis of this fire risk right here. In addition, there apparently was no examination of wind speed and wind direction pushing this fire that's down here that has just a ton of fuel load available all the way up the side of this building. There is this is just so much. And one of the risks that isn't really analyzed a lot in fires like this is the risk of exterior fire going interior, because generally in firefighting, it's taught that once a fire has broken to the outside, it is ventilated and it's not as much of a risk to go up. The problem is you've got all of this covering the exterior of the building, which is going to burn and allow interior fire spread further up the building, because this building right here, the building of origin, also had interior fire spread from this burning. This had interior fire spread from this burning. It was a complete failure of scene size up prior to entering the building. Honestly, fire department probably never should have made entry into this building. I understand why they did, because they wanted to make sure that it was fully evacuated, but it was an unnecessary risk for very minimal gain. There was no one in this building. There was one woman that was injured in this fire who was injured in this building, but there was no reason especially with this risk of exterior fire spread. Now, we don't know exactly why the floor collapsed. It shouldn't have, in theory. There's not, we'll switch back to my other image here. There's not really a good explanation as to why this floor would collapse. We don't really have a good explanation for that. There hasn't been one released yet. I've been searching Japanese sources in Japanese, oddly enough, to try and find out why this floor would have collapsed. I haven't found anything yet. Doesn't mean there won't be one, but I don't really have a good explanation for why this floor would collapse. I can tell you why this fire got up in here, and I can tell you exactly why it happened so quickly, because this would have been a very quick fire development. You have plenty of oxygen. You have a ton of fuel to be able to get up and get over this direction. And the wind was likely blowing fairly significantly for this much directional spread, because this is showing a significant push. And this is, if we go back to my street map here, if we zoom out a little bit, this is essentially a wind tunnel. All of these buildings are basically the same height. Wind is going to be blowing down, and it's going to make it a essential wind tunnel. So a lack of understanding of situational awareness, scene size up, all of that really led to this disaster and led to the deaths of these two firefighters. A lack of recognizing what your exterior risks are, a lack of recognizing your wind speed and your potential fire spread from wind. They're honestly really lucky that it didn't cause any more fatalities, because that third firefighter that was on the floor with them is very lucky he made it out alive. Now, if you've listened to me talk before or listened to podcasts or anything like that, you know what this effect is called. So there is a definition for when fire gets behind things like that and burns up and creates essentially a chimney. It's called the stack effect. It happened in the Grenfell Tower fire. Fire got back behind the cladding on the exterior of the Grenfell Tower and allowed it to go from the 4th floor to the 24th floor in about 20 minutes. This one probably went significantly faster than that. Looking at these billboards, I'm guessing they're not much to them, but they will burn, and they will burn well. It looks like they're attached with some, this one might be wooden, maybe some kind of plastic. This one looks like it's maybe some kind of fabric based on the attachments there, but still would have allowed for very, very quick fire spread. And looking at our actual damage, it burned very well. You can see in that area right in here how well it burned right there. So it's likely that bottom billboard was probably made of wood or some form of plastic that burned with an incredible amount of heat release, which would have caused this clean burn you see here. So that's pretty much that. That's kind of why this disaster happened. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, stay safe. Remember to check your smoke detector batteries, and we will do these again in the future. Thank you, guys.